Tonight on CTV, ASCSU raises awareness for the U+2 law and hear how you can contribute to wildfire prevention.
Then learn about the new plastic bag ban taking effect very soon, as well as a new embroidery exhibit at Old Town Library.
All that and much more starting on CTV right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Weston Hubbard.
And I'm Natalie Devereaux. Thank you for tuning in tonight.
A missing child has been reunited with his family. Larimer County Sheriffs found a boy about 3 years old and nonverbal by himself on 8000 block of 3rd Street in Wellington earlier today. He had been missing since around Wednesday morning. A report was taken out asking for assistance locating the family of the child. The county sheriff's office was quick to act and his relatives were identified within half an hour. The sheriff's office thanks the community for their cooperation during the incident, and the boy is now safely back home.
A Fort Collins man was arrested in connection to 2 cases of sexual assault against children dating back to 2016. After an investigation started in late 2021, Fort Collins police obtained a warrant for the arrest of Dakota Colvin. After searching for a month, Colvin was located on Tuesday, April 25th. He was armed with a handgun. Police apprehended Colvin and he currently faces 4 charges: sexual assault on a child in position of trust, pattern of sexual assault, felony menacing, and resisting arrest. Colvin currently resides in Larimer County Jail. Anyone with information relating to Colvin's case is encouraged to contact Detective Justin Butler at 970-221-6340.
Tap water in the Harmony Village mobile home community is contaminated with lead. Tests in the mobile home park found lead levels above federal drinking water standards. Testing was prompted after the park's 2 orders for residents to boil water over the last 5 months. On its own, boiling water is not enough to remove the lead, and it can sometimes make the problem worse as the water tends to evaporate. The Colorado Water Control and Utilities does not believe the contamination originates from the city's water supply. The cause has yet to be confirmed, but the city is replacing any water service lines that have steel or iron coating, as this could lead to iron leaching into the water supply that passes through it. Going forward, the park will implement more testing and has the option to corrosion control substances to address lead contamination.
Poudre Fire Authority responded to a house fire that occurred on Monday, April 25th. Just before 10 in the morning, the fire was reported on the block of Round Butte Drive west of Terry Lake. The flames sparked up in a bathroom of a single-family home where 2 residents were forced to evacuate. The residents were not injured and the fire was extinguished. Currently, the cause of the fire is unknown and the investigation is ongoing.
Fort Collins will be seeing housing plans develop in some areas of the city, while others are still waiting on proper approval. Around 200 new houses are set to go up along South Timberline Road, following approval from the city for a planning meeting last Thursday. The new housing zone will include 83 single-family homes, 66 paired homes, and 48 townhomes. All properties will be for sale. The project is anticipated to start in the late summer months. However, at the same meeting, the city turned away plans for around 240 new homes to be built in North Fort Collins. Their reasoning was simple. The design was not right for the city, particularly the lack of variation in building structure and colors. DHI, the presenters of the plan, are expected to change the look of the buildings to fit with the city's request and come back to the city around June of this year seeking approval yet again. It may be good news to current or aspiring Fort Collins residents that more homes are being put up. However, there is still a huge topic on people's minds: U+2. Our reporter JJ McKinney joins us live in the studio with more. JJ?
Thanks, Weston. The law U+2 has been a very controversial piece of legislation for a very long time, with multiple residents expressing frustration over the living situation. Now, ASCSU may be finally doing something about it, using shirts that are tie-dye for to raise awareness.
Members of ASCSU came together during an eventful day in the plaza. They set up a tie-dye station where all different types of students across campus came together to create colorful and impressive designs. All of it in the hope of one thing: spread awareness about the injustice of U+2, a legislation that significantly limits the amount of non-related people that can live in a Fort Collins household to only 3. ASCSU volunteer Natasha Daney speaks about laws like U+2 and how they have negatively affected not only just students and residents of Fort Collins, about how they've affected her personally as well.
I had a really hard time paying rent during COVID, so I ended up living in a house with 4 other girls. So I lived in a 5-bedroom house, and it had 5 bedrooms in it. And I knew about U+2, but I decided to break it anyways. If we would have only had 3 people in that house, our rent would have just been completely unaffordable.
Natasha is just one of the many residents who have been negatively affected by the guidelines set in place from landlords as a result of U+2. City Council created U+2, originally promoted as a way to keep the streets of Fort Collins uncluttered by cars. However, ASCSU Director of Housing Security, Benton Rosler, argues otherwise.
It's an inaccessible way to not allow people to live in houses and fully utilize the space that we have today.
With enough support, Director Rosler, Danny, and all other critics of U+2 hope they could put an end to U+2 once and for all.
And I hope that it makes housing in general just more accessible for students.
Director Rosler hopes that ASCSU can create more events to raise awareness about U+2 in the future, and that they can hopefully create housing that is U+2 free sooner rather than later. All right, back to you guys.
You know, I've covered stories about U+2 over the past couple years that I've been here, and it's just crazy to me that it's like still a prevalent issue and that we haven't done more to solve it.
I agree, and I'm from California. I don't know if we have any laws to that, so when I came out here, I was super confused, but I live in an apartment, so I haven't run into that issue, but I know friends that have.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in an apartment, so I haven't either, but if I were to buy a home, like, that's obviously something I have to look out for. But you actually did a story talking about another problem that homeowners have to look out for, correct?
Yes, I spoke with Poudre Fire Authority about wildfires, and as temperatures rise, so does the risk of a wildfire. And with warmer weather headed our way, we are seeing more people spend time outside. Unfortunately, many outdoor activities can lead to wildland fires. However, there are steps we can take to reduce this threat, and it is important to use an abundance of caution. Wildfires have become all too common in Colorado, which is something Poudre Authority firefighter Chris Hewitt knows all too well after being on the front lines of the Marshall Fire.
You know it's pure destruction, so when you see the people's houses burned up from a wildfire, they're going back to nothing.
Colorado's dry climate and high wind speeds create the perfect environment for wildland fires.
Roughly 60,000 wildland fires that happen every year across the nation. Here in Poudre Fire Authority, last year we ran 79 wildfires.
Once these fires break out, they can be difficult to contain.
You turn around behind you where there's nothing, and all of a sudden you'd have 3 or 4 more pop up in the time it took you to put one little fire out. So it was going faster than you could keep up with.
These disasters take a toll on not only the environment, but also the community.
That's often hard too, is knowing they left, like on the Marshall Fire, with what was in their car or something, and so many things you don't even think of you need in life, all of a sudden you don't have.
But what about those risking their lives to save others and their property?
They're seeing the devastation, the impact to the community and the residents firsthand.
It feels a little helpless at some times, but I think the only way to approach it with a good mindset was you're doing what you can.
So how can wildfires be prevented?
One of the leading causes where people just throw out a cigarette while they're driving down the road. If you're up camping, don't do a campfire unless it's allowed.
There are many things residents can do to prevent fires, but for PFA, the work never stops.
Sorry. That's us.
With a windy weekend blowing in, Larimer County Commissioners have enacted fire restrictions. Activities like smoking outdoors, campfires, fireworks, and combustible devices are all prohibited this weekend.
It sounds like we're actually going to need to hear more about what the weather's going to be like that weekend if it's going to be that windy.
Well, Weston, we've got Morgan Gardner up next to fill us in on just that. Stay tuned.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes, and you come to mine. This is it. First impression. My way in. But here's the thing. Can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Can one piece of paper really tell you my whole story? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or how anytime there was an opportunity, I was the first one to step up. Because I wasn't gonna let my life, my circumstances dictate who I was gonna become. And all of that determination, the commitment, the drive, that's me. And that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent like me.
Good evening, Rams. My name is Morgan Gardner, filling in for Michelle Ellis, here to give you the rundown on all things weather. And as we look outside right now, it is gorgeous, 71 degrees with a little bit of a light breeze coming from the west and southwest. Lots of cloud coverage tonight. We're seeing a lot of clouds, especially as we go into tonight's lows across the region. And as we expect along the I-25 corridor, we can expect lows in the upper 40s to, 48 degrees in Pueblo, 48 degrees in Lamar, and actually up in Sterling, it is going to be 44 degrees, but they have a lot of potential for some rain showers throughout the evening and even some hail. So if you are in that area tonight, just be wary of some hail that can potentially damage your car, and nobody wants to be stuck in hail. And as we go into the western slope, we can expect lower temperatures, especially in areas such as Telluride at 33 degrees, Gunnison at 36, Vail at 39, Craig up there at 38, and Alamosa at 35. The outlier tonight is Grand Junction, as always, at 50 degrees. But again, we're seeing a lot of cloud coverage tonight, which is paving the way for our temperatures tomorrow. And as we look at our tomorrow's forecast, especially across the I-25 corridor, we're seeing a lot of the same temperatures we saw today, but it is going to be consecutively cooler because it is again going to be windy. And I know I wish the wind was over too, but we're actually going to have a lot of wind tomorrow, especially in areas such as Colorado Springs at 61, Pueblo at 71, Alamosa at 64, and Lamar over there at 79. And because it's going to be so windy and really hot tomorrow, those areas are on a red flag warning, making the potential for some grass fires. So if you are in those regions tomorrow, just be wary of when you go outside. There could be some, damaged telephone poles and things like that. And maybe avoid wearing a hat because it might just blow off. And as we look into this region over here, we can see Telluride at 42, which is the lowest temperature tomorrow. And again, Grand Junction standing out there at 66 degrees. And as you look at tomorrow's forecast up here in Fort Collins, it is going to be beautiful once again, but again, very, very windy. So we can expect a high of 62 degrees with a low of 42. And wind gusts between 25 and 30 miles per hour coming from the northwest, and those gusts getting up to 40 miles an hour. So again, if you are outside tomorrow, just be wary of driving around and just walking on campus as well. Sunrise at 6:01 in the morning and sunset at 7:54 in the evening. And as you look at this weekend's forecast, we can expect a lot of the same temperatures that we saw this week. But again, as Natalie mentioned, it's going to be very windy, putting us on an extreme fire danger for the weekend. So Saturday at 69 degrees with a low of 35, Sunday at 65 with a low of 38, and it dips down a bit on Monday and Tuesday. On Monday, we're seeing a high of 54 and a low of 34 with some potential for those rain showers in the morning. It should clear up as we get into the afternoon, but Tuesday, we're going to have the potential for it to rain all day, which is going to be very nice. 64 degrees with a low of 37. And well, Rams, that is all the weather I have for you tonight, but don't go anywhere. After the break, learn about the upcoming plastic bag ban in Fort Collins and the new multicultural exhibit at the Old Town Library. Stay tuned.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work, show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up one finger if you're a man, women, 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
Welcome back from the break, Rams.
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind? Well, in Fort Collins, you might have to start feeling like a paper bag after a new citywide ban. The city of Fort Collins recently passed a ban on plastic shopping bags.
A lot of people don't know about it, and you would think they would because of all the advertising and all the knowledge that's been put out there on Facebook and on email and things like that. And so educating them has been, this past week, one of our goals is to let them know.
While the bigger stores such as Target and King Soopers are having a hard time adjusting, smaller stores in Old Town Fort Collins aren't too phased.
We just have always believed that paper is the way to go because of the environment, but also they're cute and the handles hold up better.
Haley works at Curiosities, a store in Old Town that has been using paper bags ever since it started 28 years ago.
Personally, it came out of nowhere for me. I knew like Target was doing it. Last time I'd been there, they were like, just so you know, this is happening. And I was like, oh cool, Target is doing that.
Curiosities isn't the only store that has been doing paper bags before the ban, but has left these smaller stores with some questions, such as why the big stores are charging for the paper bags.
Absolutely. I mean, until you came in, I really didn't know there was a ban in general. But I mean, if we're giving them out for free and we're little local stores, you know, why can't these big box stores give out the paper bags for free? You know, that doesn't make sense.
Despite this being controversial, some will argue that Fort Collins is finally taking a step in the right direction.
Because some of them are happy about it because, you know, of the saving the earth and all that good stuff that goes along with this.
Despite a rough rollout, Fort Collins might finally have this problem in the bag.
CSU is conducting a national search for a new chief of police for CSU PD. The position has been vacant since 2019, but is currently held by interim chief Frank Johnson. CSU has identified an ideal candidate as someone who will be committed to building community relations and fostering an inclusive environment. The position is set to be filled next fall, but as of now, no specific candidate has been identified.
Poudre School District is attempting to seek out some pretty healthy benefits. Colorado's Medicaid program is one district that they can enroll in that allows the schools to get reimbursed for each student they have on Medicaid. However, the Poudre School District left the program back in 2009, and after officials deemed the program was not as expansive as they wanted it to be. The district's Medicaid coordinator, Corey Henry, has gone on record saying they're not quite sure what the money will go to yet. However, some have suggested using the funds to hire more nurses, as there are currently only 14 out of the 53 schools within the district. Poudre has time to find out what the funds will go to, as they estimate the program will not be into full swing again until October 1st.
Tuesday night, Peter Bogosian gave his reverse Q&A presentation in the Student Center. He is a former University of Portland professor who resigned after feeling the school was pushing liberal ideologies that stifled his own beliefs. Bogosian has now been touring colleges, asking students about their own experiences with free speech in the classroom. The event was sponsored by CSU's Turning Point chapter, which is a conservative group on campus that often faces backlash from other students due to their ideologies. But attendees were pleasantly surprised to see this aspect missing from the event. There was a mix of opinions in the room as hot topic questions were discussed, such as policing, classroom curriculum, and voter ID requirements. Bogosian and his team expressed satisfaction in seeing constructive conversations amongst students, yet were disappointed with no liberal groups on campus wanting to co-sponsor the event.
People are afraid to voice their opinions in class. And when you're afraid to voice your opinion, people won't know who you are, and you won't know who they are. And not only will you not get an education, because you'll not get any pushback on the beliefs that you have, but you'll never develop honest relationships with each other. Nobody was damaged from that tonight. Nobody was injured from that tonight. That event should be the least controversial thing imaginable.
CSU's Turning Point chapter hopes to keep hosting these events and see their peers come together in conversation.
A Colorado State University professor is using virtual reality technology to run labs that impact our actual reality. Dr. Francisco Ortega came to CSU as an assistant professor in 2018. He joined the computer science program with a goal: implement ways for technology to blend better with the real world. Ortega, along with his students and several other faculty members, created the Natural User Interaction Lab. This lab in virtual and augmented reality to conduct various types of research. Some programs the students have designed do things like evaluate the severity of a concussion soccer players can receive while playing. Another uses AI avatars within the virtual space to interact with the children and see if learning from the digital avatars helps the kids learn any better. Another feature is that you can take a tour of the lab on their website, and if you have a VR headset, you can do it all within virtual reality. While the research on this topic is still far from finished, it's not hard to see a reality where it will be useful sometime soon.
The Department of Food Science and Human Nutrition just celebrated the grand opening of their fermentation science facilities. The program allows students to get hands-on experience when it comes to fermentation and the creation of beer. With donors like New Belgium Brewing, the department was able to get custom equipment and several lab spaces for all aspects of the brewing process. The joy over these new tools was evident as people gathered for tours, viewed student projects, and enjoyed a nice glass of beer.
This event is about celebrating something that we've envisioned for fermentation science and technology for a long time.
Oh, it's a dream come true. When it developed, was one of 3 major universities in the United States that had anything like this.
So we get to have like hands-on brewing experience and just getting a really practical sense of what it's like to brew.
It gives us a big advantage to be able to get our hands on actual equipment.
I love just seeing the sparks of light going off in their brains, like making the connections between all the things. And I get so jazzed about that. And with a facility like this, we can do real science and do real brewing on a commercial scale.
We learn so much about the processes in class and lectures, but being able to do it is a completely different ballgame.
We're proud of what we do. We're not here to just brew beer. We're here to make beer the right way and do things how it's supposed to be done in the industry, not just as a school.
CSU believes these new facilities will strengthen the program and give students a leg up as they graduate and enter the job market.
That's so cool to me that there's just like a lab here that's going to let students get the chance to like help brew beer and just like learn about that experience.
Definitely, and I have to say, going to this event, it was so cool, and the students were so excited about this.
Oh, I'm sure it was. And you know, in Fort Collins, we have tons of like, you know, bars down in Old Town that have some pretty great beer. Speaking of Old Town, I heard there's an event going on at the library with some embroidery. I think our reporter, Abby McPhail, has more on that.
That's right, guys. This week, I checked out the multicultural embroidery exhibit at the Old Town Library. There were so many beautiful pieces with amazing backstories, so I had to see what this close-knit group was all about. Check it out.
Meet Vicki Hayes, a representative for the Embroiderers Guild of America and one of the creators of the multicultural embroidery exhibit at the Old Town Library.
I started back in the early 1970s. And my very first piece was a stamped embroidery piece, which is hanging here. It's been a lot of fun. I find it, following a pattern, being able to change things if I want to, is a great outlet for someone who is not particularly artistic, I don't think, but so I love being able to see colors and things that have been created. A few of my pieces are in memory of my mom. She died a couple of years ago, and so there's a quilt on the wall over there that has a lot of pieces, a lot of things that remind me of her. So her love of cardinals and angels and things like that.
The exhibit was created to show off cultures not only here in Fort Collins, but throughout Colorado.
When we first set up this exhibit, I wanted to have it as broad a cultural aspect as we could possibly have. And so we have some pieces that represent Native Americans. We have a piece from Japan that shows Japanese shashiko, and a African American inspired piece as well. So we just wanted to draw on what was made by our members, as well as representing as many cultures as we possibly could.
I was amazed that some of these pieces were over 100 years old.
but still looked brand new. Plus, talking with Vicky was so lovely and she had me in stitches. I'm so excited to see what they do next, and I would make one more sewing joke, but I'm running out of material. If you could learn more about joining this group and attending meetings, you can email Vicky at vhays1009@gmail.com. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Abby. And with that, Rams, we conclude tonight's news show.
But make sure you don't go anywhere just yet. Leah Kakowski is up next to fill you in on everything golf and tennis within CTV Sports.
Living with someone you don't know on the other side of the wall is hard, especially if you don't know how to be a good roommate. The first thing that you'll want to do to be a good roommate is make sure that you always stay quiet. Be considerate of others when using common spaces and appliances.
Hey buddy, what you doing?
I'm just gonna need like 40 minutes. Be respectful of your roommate's privacy. Ugh, my bad. Finally, make sure that you clean up after yourself. Oh, fresh toothbrush.
Have you seen my toothbrush?
Follow these tips to get along with your roommates and your landlord.
How's it going, Rams? My name is Leah Kakowski, back, as always, as your Thursday night sports anchor. So, if you weren't already aware, it's Mountain West Tournament Week for both Rams tennis and CSU men's golf. I'll give you an in-depth rundown of both on Thursday night sports, which starts right now. To get things into full swing tonight, let's first talk about how CSU men's golf is looking heading into the Mountain West Championships, which starts tomorrow afternoon, all the way up in Bremerton, Washington at the Gold Mountain Golf Club, which I have to say is absolutely beautiful. But anyways, most recently, the Rams finished up their final test of the regular season at the BYU Cougar Classic last weekend. And wow, did they have a solid performance. Over in Provo, the Rams finished the weekend at 3rd out of 13 schools by shooting 13 under par overall, which, as you can guess, was much better than their previous outing in the Western Intercollegiate Tournament a bit farther back, where they only ended up the number 8 slot out of a slightly larger field of 14 competitors. And as I filled you in about on this very show only a few weeks ago, as we know, the Rams have definitely had their ups as well as their downs throughout their season. So it was obviously awesome to see them finish on the podium, even if the level of competition wasn't as intense as it has been in the middle of that spring schedule. And now getting into how exactly they earned this number 3 spot last weekend, it all starts with the spectacular effort of senior Davis Bryant, who finished 5th at 8 under 208 at the individual level, while also going 3 rounds under par, which had to be largely due to his great final round score, where he finished 5 under 67 to close things out on exactly the right foot. As you can tell, with these types of numbers, Davis proves his worth to this squad every single week, time and time again, showing what an outstanding competitor and leader he is when he's out there on the green. Not to mention that he's doing everything in his power to finish things out strong his final year as a Ram. So with that all being said, we've been very lucky as CSU fans to see this guy in action, and I bet he'll finish things out real strong as he wraps up his collegiate career. But okay, let's finally move things on to the main event. Like any conference tournament, the stakes are as high as ever, with the Rams desperately fighting to secure a spot in that NCAA tourney. Just like basketball, the winner of things in the Washington will earn an automatic bid to nationals, where they won't have to worry at all about the evaluation of college golf experts to see if they'll make it in or not as a large team. So, as you can clearly see, it's definitely ideal to do well in this Mountain West final, no matter what your season-long resume may be. And speaking of resumes, compared to other schools in this tournament, CSU sits right at about average when it comes to the rankings, with a number 70 overall standing at the national level. But in any case, Nevada has to be the team to watch out for entering play today. I mean, as you can see here, their most well-respected squad in the Mountain West at number 35. And you look down at the list at some other conference opponents that the experts put around the same slot as the Rams. San Diego State is ranked 50th, with Boise State right behind them at 51, and San Jose State in a close competition with CSU at number 85. So clearly the race in Birmingham will be really tight, and the green and gold will absolutely need their best effort of the year if they want to stack up against the field. At the end of the day, though, we'll just have to wait and see how all shakes out over the next few days. Especially and hopefully for CSU faithful, we'll continue to see this team play in late May in the NCAA tournament. But unfortunately, Rams, that is all the time we have for you tonight. Make sure to tune in on Monday for the final edition of Monday Night Sports for the semester. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe.